second day. I'm like, it's gonna get harder. But I really like it. So, all right, let's dive into a couple of announcements, and then we're gonna get to some recognition. Then our guest speaker, Danielle's taking care of a coach relations thing right now. She's handling serious coach biz. So I'm going to chat with y'all real quick, and then we'll hand it over to the speaker. So a couple things to note as far as announcements go. 6 weeks of the work is still on sale. And guess what I realized, you guys? Even if they don't want 6 weeks of the work, it's still the best offer to do a 6 weeks of the work challenge pack, and then the additional $10 off. Sorry if you're like me and you didn't realize that and nobody told you that, but the reason is because, like, even if they don't want to do 6 weeks of the work right now, they can either do it later, or they're still going to get everything that they would get if they got the challenge pack without 6 weeks of the work, but they're going to get it for $140, because 6 weeks of the work, all access bod, Shakeology, or performance right now is $150, plus an additional $10 off with your 6 weeks of the work promo code. So, like, baller. So basically our challenge packs are $30 off, $20 off right now. So just keep that in mind. And then 6 weeks of the work is going to come out. I saw this on the Coach Online office, like in January, at the beginning of January. We're coming out with a 4 weeks of the work, I think it's called. And it's basically like a prereq to 6 weeks of the work. And then 6 weeks of the work isn't dropping till April. Am I right on that? So your customers are probably gonna want to do it before April. So it's just best, I would say, to go ahead and get them set up with that. There's a couple other new programs out. Joel has something coming next spring. The bar program is going to start getting talked about a lot more. That's coming out in January. And at first I was like, bar, whatever. And then I saw people doing it at leadership, and I was like, OMG, I'm about it. My booty's going to be lifted. My body's going to get sculpted. And I don't know if you guys know this, but there's a huge market out there for bar. Like, you could literally go search the hashtag bar and see a gajillion people doing it, going to classes. And there's a really big potential there too for people that teach bar classes who would maybe want to take their love for health and fitness and turn it into this online coaching opportunity now that we have something in the library that speaks to them. So that's just a couple of things to keep in mind as we move forward. And as well, I today just announced that I'm going to be doing 3 different 3-day refresh groups. I just looked at the end of the year and I thought, like, how can we invite to more things? How can we give people more options? How can we revive our downlines? Because we have Peppermint Shakeology coming November 1st. I think December 3rd is the new vegan beach bar, which is so awesome. But my point is, I am inviting like a mad woman. I have a no list right now of 200 people, and I'm at Success Club 4. Okay. So I am just figuring it out, you guys. I'm thinking of what do my people need right now? All right. They don't want to do 6 weeks of the work and Shakeology or Morning Meltdown. So I'm going to go say, hey, do you want to get set up with this cleanse to help you through the holidays? Like, when doors are shutting, you guys, you got to find more to open. You just have to think, like, what's another way that I can work this? What's another way that I can serve people? Like, what's another way that I can reach my market and my audience? Because there's no such thing as, guess I won't hit my goals this month because somebody's telling me no. There's only, how can I be a better leader? How can I serve better? Like, what more can I do? And just by shifting my mindset that little bit, I saw so much more opportunity rather than all the doors shutting in my face. So I hope that you guys will take advantage of things like that, because Maggie and I were talking, we're like, oh my gosh, we forget about a 3-day refresh and Shakeology challenge pack. So sometimes people don't want the fitness. Sometimes all they need from you is a 3-day cleanse and 30 servings of our beautiful shake. But you never know where that could lead. You never know how you could serve them in that moment. So don't forget about the power in everything that we have, not just, the one thing that you might be committed to right now. All right, so that's really all that, and I'm gonna work on like a full calendar for the entire team to close out this year. But I just wanted to give you guys that heads up for us to lock in our goals towards the end of the month. Does anybody have any other announcements that they want to shoot out? If not, we'll run into some recognition, and then we will give this to Kelly. Anybody have any recognition? Anybody? Tori, I know Natalie isn't on here tonight because of family stuff, but you're at Success Club 4. So congratulations. She's a brand new coach. She's Natalie's new best friend in Maryland, whatever. No, I'm just kidding. I'm so glad you guys found each other because you're like, she loves you so much. So she's at Success Club 4. She just kicked off her business and she's crushing it. My new coach, Devin, is down there. Devin, show us your face. We want to see your face. But she and I just had an awesome conversation. She is totally overcoming her fear of being on social media and crushing every second of it and getting her business kicked off in an awesome way. So welcome to the team. Does anybody else want to say anything empowering and awesome? Anybody? Really, guys? All right. So Kelly, hi. I know you don't know me, but Danielle's dealing with a coach relations issue. So she was like, hey, will you like take over or whatever? I was like, absolutely. But we're so glad that you're here. As soon as she explained a little bit about, you know, what you're going to be talking to us tonight about and just who you are and where you come from and your leadership, like we were so stoked to hear from you. She is a 2019 elite coach. She comes from Melanie Mitro's tribe of awesome leaders. She just went to leadership for the first time. So we're all jealous of her because we were stalking the event like crazy. It looked absolutely amazing. She's a mom of 2 from Indiana, and her and Danielle met on an excursion on the Success Club trip last year. So maybe at the end, Danielle can circle back around and tell us a little bit about that. But it's really cool. You just never know who you're going to connect with in this business. So Kelly, I don't want to yap anymore. Take it away. And I love that you have your little boy right there.
I am so excited to be on and talk to you guys, but I hope that this little one behaves himself. I have my husband upstairs with our daughter trying to put her to bed, and we were at leadership, as you said, and so they spent a whole week with Grandma and Papa, and so they're like trying to adjust to real life again, and it's a struggle, let me tell you. So I was like, listen, kiddo, you got to zip it tonight, and you can watch yourself on TV, okay? And you can look at all these pretty ladies. Can you say hi? Hi. Well, thank you for the introduction. So yes, I'm Kelly Guy. I live in West Lafayette, Northern Indiana, and I'm married to my husband, Jake. And yes, we met on the Success Club trip. So much fun. That's like one amazing perk is traveling and just meeting new people. And I work as a radiology technician, a veterinary nurse. And so I work at a university here at Purdue University, and I've been a radiology. We're in I work in radiology at the vet hospital there, and I've been there for 12 years, and I got into coaching 5 years ago. I started my first challenge group after I had my daughter Kinsley, and so I just wanted to lose a little bit of weight, thought I would join the group, didn't think it would have as big of an impact on me as it did, and I fell in love with the accountability, as I'm sure you guys all know. And it took me a whole year to say yes to this opportunity. I was scared for so many reasons. Lack of time, lack of, didn't want to pay for it, thought it was like a scheme of some sort, and just really didn't think I would be successful at it, quite honestly. And so it took me a whole year to say yes, but I was talking about it all the time, and my husband was finally like, listen, you talk about this all the time, like, just give it a shot. Like, what do you have to lose? And so, when I started, I felt like I was pretty successful. I've hit Success Club every year or every month since I've started, and I didn't even think I would do that. But it really I don't know. I just didn't think I would be successful. Shh, hey, can you be quiet? Otherwise, Daddy will come get you. Okay. I didn't know who I would invite, who would follow me, who would want to, join this small town girl who had no clue what she was doing. I didn't even have an Instagram profile whenever I started. And so it was kind of overwhelming, but I worked my way through the business. I hit Success Club. I felt like I was doing pretty good, but I hit Diamond, and then I kind of stayed there for a while. Yeah. Here, Daddy's going to show you a book, okay? Come on. Can you tell everybody bye?
Say bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you. Okay, he's making me sweat. So, I hit Diamond, and I kind of stayed stagnant for a while. And even though I was hitting Success Club, I really wasn't making huge strides with my business. And I think that was for a couple of different reasons. So a huge thing, like everyone kind of has their thing. We all love fitness. We all have nutrition, but like mindset is my jam. Like that's what I preach to my to my people, that's what a huge takeaway from leadership was coming back from Arizona this week. And it was definitely my holdup for the longest time. And I know we are all busy, whether we have kids or whether we don't, whether we stay at home, whether we work a full-time job, everybody's busy. But I let that be my own excuse for way too long. I would kind of say to myself, well, I work a full-time job and I'm on call on the weekends and I work nights at the hospital and I hit diamond, so I'm doing good enough for me. And I really let that be sort of my excuse that I said to myself for the longest time on why I wasn't advancing further. But when I really sat down and I evaluated my business and I looked at what the potential was here, I knew that's where I didn't want to stop. Like, diamond is amazing and it's a huge accomplishment. But if you look at the scope of what can be accomplished in this business, it's just the beginning. And it's just a stepping stone to where you're going to go next if you truly want to make an income through this or whatever that income may lead to for you. It's not just about the money, but it's about what that money can do for you. And so for me, it was about freedom of time, freedom of presence with my family, because working a full-time job after I went back to work after maternity leave, I've always been a super positive person, but like something switched in me when I went back to work after I had my daughter. Work was kind of changing. We had different management. People were negative. I was becoming more negative, and I was really bitter that other people were spending more time in a day than myself raising my kids. And I have no problem with people who work full-time jobs, but for me, it just didn't feel right on my heart, and I would cry going to work in the mornings. I didn't want to leave. I would leave work for work before they were even awake. My husband, thank God, he's an angel, and he would get them ready for school and take them in, and he would pick them up in the evenings, and I would come home with enough time to basically eat supper with them, give them a bath, and put them straight to bed. And I just was like, I can't live my life like this. There's got to be more. And even though I loved my other job as a radiology technician, I saw so much potential in this. And so I had to say, is this where I want to stop, or do I want to push it farther? And if I did want to push it farther, then what are my own excuses that I'm using that are getting in my way? And for me, it was the whole, I work full time and I do this and I do that. But I saw these other people who had the same excuses that I was using, but they were going farther than me. So I really had to get out of my own way. And so I worked really hard. I kept progressing, slowly but surely. And I finally got to the point where me and my husband were like, okay, I can go part-time in my job because I needed it for my mental health, to have more freedom here. And I was at the point where I had replaced my income. And so we said, okay, let's go full-time or part-time. It's scary, but I think that it's going to be good for the business. Let's try it. And I think at that point, it got really freaking scary because I realized that the excuses I was using in my head of I work full-time, like, oh, sure, she works part-time. She's doing a little bit better than me, but because of XYZ. And I didn't have that anymore. It was like, oh, girl, like if you have extra time now, you got to do something with it. You can't give yourself excuses anymore. And that scared the crap out of me. And so that happened in May of last year. And then it was in September, I think, of last year that I went to my first leadership retreat with Melanie. And so I went there. I was terrified to go. I had a different coach who quit, and then I went underneath Melanie. And so I went to this retreat. I didn't know anyone, but we're always telling people in our challenge groups, you got to get uncomfortable if you want to see results. And so I applied it to my business too. And I went all by myself down to Florida, and it was so eye-opening. I came out of there with a passion and a fire, and other girls who had gone before me who said like, hey, we went for this late in the year. We made it happen. It's a long shot. It's really hard, but you can do it too. And I left there and I was like, I'm going to do it. And I came home and I remember I wrote this. I still have it hanging up here. And I said, I will be elite by December 30th, 2018 and walk across Indy Stage at Summit with my family watching, because we're from Indiana. So I was like, I want to do this. And I don't know why. Apparently I forgot there were 31 days in December because I said December 30th. I don't know why. But I wrote that Post-it and I stared at it every single day, and I just got to work. And it took a lot of me getting very uncomfortable. I think before my coach quit, I was kind of stuck in that I'm going to be a really good challenger and coach a little bit along the way. I'm going to show up and cheer everybody on in the groups. I'm going to invite like crazy to the challenge groups, but I didn't talk about coaching as much. And I definitely didn't host my own calls or do anything with like leadership on my team. I didn't even have a team name until like last summer. So I remember before, and people were like, how long have you been coaching? And I was like, 3 years. And they're like, what's your team name? And I was like, I don't have one. And then I was like, what am I doing? Like, if I want to be a top coach one day, like I have to act like I'm one already. And so I made a team name and I started talking about coaching and inviting to the opportunity. And I started doing those things that made me really uncomfortable, like getting on the phone and talking with people about their goals in the business too. Telling the world what my goals were with this business, even though they seemed very silly and way too lofty for me. And started hosting weekly team calls and such to try to bring that team unity together. Because when you feel like you're doing it with other people, it just catches fire. It's just the same way with our challenge groups. Like, it works so well because people aren't doing it alone. And it was the same thing with coaching. So I just got to work, and we pushed so hard over the last few months of last year, and we made it happen. We pulled it out at the very last second. I'm pretty sure I got an ulcer, but we made it happen. And so now we're working to do it again this year. But it was so much fun to go to leadership and to just like, seriously, like wherever you are in your business, like give yourself a hand for even being here, but then like just be honest with yourself and say like, what do I really want from this business? And maybe it's not to be the top coach or whatever it is, but figure out what it is that you want and then see what you're telling yourself that's holding you back from that. Because honestly, guys, that's the only thing holding you back from that is what you're telling yourself in your mind. Because last year when I just decided I'm going to go for it, I believed it. I don't even know why, but I just told myself it over and over and over. I'm going to be an elite coach. Our team is going to do this together and we're going to hit 5-star. And we just kept working for that vision. And that was a big thing that they talked about that I took away from leadership this past week was one of the speakers said, don't get so focused on the goal that you lose sight of your vision. And that was really impactful for me because I think I honestly let that happen a little bit this year. It was like we did that big scary thing last year, and then January came and it was like, oh, okay, I have all year. Like, I'm going to take a little bit of a breather. Like, I need to relax a little bit, take my foot off the gas. And then it was like, when you let your foot off the gas, you lose that momentum. And it became this, instead of playing in offense, I was sort of starting to play in defense. Like, instead of playing to, win and get ahead and do what was good, it was like playing to not fall behind, I guess. And when you make that shift, it's not as good for your business. So whenever you stay on top of your game, you don't let your foot off the gas and you just keep pushing and you really focus on that end vision, it was really important. And so like for me, like when I think of what I want for my team, like I picture the big retreats and the team unity and my girls becoming leaders of their own and all of that fun stuff that goes along with being an elite team, but not just the title. I want to be elite. I want to have 5 stars underneath me. That's the goal. But the vision is the team unity and the bonding and the fact that I was able to come home part-time and one day I want to be able to go full-time. And what are those things that are going to keep you really pushing hard when it's not easy? Because you guys know it takes hard work to show up and do this every day in the bad times and in the excited times. And so, this year, I've had a lot of struggles that we kind of went through, like just with I lost some members of my team. I had new people come on board. There's just always constant shifting, and you'll find that. My husband lost his job in July, and so that was a huge, change for us, and it was scary, but it also allowed me to look at it from the standpoint of, like, gosh, how lucky am I that I have this second income, that I am able to provide for our family and let him take his time going back to work to find something he's really passionate about too, instead of scrambling to get back on our feet. And so I think, again, in that moment, I really realized the impact of mindset in that it would be so easy to say, well, this is happening to me because, and place blame elsewhere. Oh, I'm mad that this happened. And and we have no control over it. And it would be easy to just get in a bad mindset about that and give up on the business because I'm dealing with other stuff. But that's not what I want. And I know that's not what you guys want either. You want to be able to come out ahead and look back and say, gosh, like I went through this, that, and the other, and I didn't give up and I kept pushing. And maybe you don't reach your goal when you say you're going to, but you still know that you gave it your best. My team, we were pushing to try to regain 5-star by tonight so that we could start quals tomorrow. The night's not over yet, but probably not going to happen. But I'm not going to let it get me down. We still have time, and we're just going to show up every day and do the darn best that we can. So I think that really focusing on that mindset is huge. So do you guys have any questions? I'm going to check out the chat bar here, but if you guys have anything you want to say, just unmute yourself and shout it out.
First and foremost, my apologies. I was on the phone with Coach Relations. You started. I love it. But I didn't hear what Max said. But guys, isn't she freaking awesome? Like literally, I don't know if I told you, we sat down on a mini boat on the excursion on the Success Club trip this year. And I was like, oh, hey, how are you? And here we are. So it's just so cool that I say it all the time, Beachbody makes your world bigger and connects you with people that are unlike you, but also so much like you, because we spent the whole entire day together. And she spoke about these, like nobody likes to talk about, oh, I hit elite, but like, oh, all these people quit, or all these people that I thought were going to be awesome on my team, they're not here anymore. And you have to make the decision of why are you still going to keep pushing? And so I love how you're so real about that and just honest, like it takes work.
It does. And I mean, I tell my team that all the time because they've been in a funk lately where like life is just happening to them. And I totally get it. And it's that fine line as a leader between like, I'm not their boss. Like I'm just here to encourage and guide them. I can't tell them what to do, but it's like, you want it so bad for them, but you have to want it for yourself. And so I can be here and I can lead the way and try to be the best example. And the only way I can do that is by just showing them when I go through the hard times, how I continue to show up and being okay if other people aren't there yet. And that's been really hard because I'm such good friends with the girls on my team. But, you know, there's been deaths in the family and divorces and just so much different hard real life stuff that I know is very difficult, and you don't want to push too hard in there. But at the same time, like if you can use your struggles that you're going through and turn it into your message, like turn your mess into your message. That's like what I say. And so when Jake lost his job, like it was really hard for us, but I was sharing about it through social media, and it was almost like my way of like coping through that, because it's amazing the people who are watching you that you have no clue you're impacting, and then they see you going through something and they realize that you're human and they reach out and support you. And I think that is like so freaking cool that you can connect with people in that way, even if you're not helping them in your group and they're not a client of yours. Like you're helping so many people, and that's what I think keeps me showing back up. But you know, like my team has really been struggling with mindset, like I was saying, and it's just like, it's hard. You're going to go through that. But if you can learn to master that and you can just silence that inner mean girl that tells you you're not good enough, like I still have it too. I was having like a huge case of anxiety before leadership. I'm like, who do I think I am? Like, I do not belong there. Like, I just randomly hit this. I don't even know how. I don't deserve to go. Like, people are going to look at me silly, and I'm going to walk in and they're going to be like, really? And it wasn't that way at all. Like, we know Beachbody, like we don't judge here. Like, we're all here to help each other and help one another, regardless of if we're on the same team or not. And it was so eye-opening to go. We had so much fun. And I'm so excited to just keep watching people pushing to have even more people there next year, because it was fun. It's going to be back in Arizona, and the place was gorgeous. So I hope to see some of your beautiful faces there. Trying to think if I had anything else I was going to tell you guys.
I'll ask you something. So when you say got to work, like what would you describe that as? Because you were still working, you're a mom, like life was crazy. So how would you maybe describe like what got to work looked like for you? And you know, how you went out and sent the messages and planned your end of the year and just like served people and did what you had to do to get to your goal?
Yeah. So, oh my gosh, so many ways. So it's kind of like one of those things where like before kids, I thought I was busy, and then I had kids and was like, what was I doing before? And it was kind of the same thing with my business. Like I was like, I was always busy, but then suddenly I was doing so much more, and I was like, what was I doing before? I think I sat down and really started tracking as best as I could. I'm still not perfect at that, but calling myself out on the number of people I was inviting. And it was kind of like, I always relate it to my team back to nutrition. Like you think you're doing so good with nutrition, and then you're like, man, my pants are kind of tight. And then you start tracking and you're like, oh God, I'm really not doing that great. Slipping up here and there way too often. I was doing the same thing with my coaching. It was like I was always talking to people and always doing stuff, but I was busy, not productive. So I started tracking my numbers and refusing to go to bed at night until I hit the numbers that I set for myself. So I think before it would kind of be like, oh, well, I worked this morning and I worked a little bit during lunch. So, you know, we got the kids to bed. I'm going to call it a night and pick up and maybe make up, you know, tomorrow. But when I started really calling myself out on that, I'd be like, no, I didn't do this, that, and the other today. So you're not going to bed tonight. Do you want to hit the goal or do you want to get sleep? And I'll be honest, I didn't sleep much. Like I averaged like 4 hours of sleep a night, and I could be a lot better with my time management. A lot better. Something I'm still working on, which is kind of ridiculous since Melanie Mitro is my coach because she's like the queen of it. But I'm like, it makes sense when you tell me, and I can tell my team. I just haven't mastered it myself. So I got really good at communicating with my husband. He knew like where he needed to help around the house to be able to allow me to do more. So he cooks all the suppers. He picks the kids up from school so that I can sneak a little bit more into each day. And really like focusing on team building. So like I said, picking up the phone and actually having a conversation, even though that's uncomfortable for me, I could just hammer out a conversation and have someone signed up and in a coach training. Whereas before it would take like a whole week of back and forth and back and forth. So that was really helpful. Goodness, what else? I think, yeah, just being honest with myself about where I was kind of having excuses and not really showing up and doing the work. People business. Yeah, getting on the phone is sort of scary because you can't like type and then backspace, like when you say it, it's like, oh crap, am I going to make any sense? And so my husband he found another job, but he has actually started coaching as well. He is one of my diamonds, but now he's actually working the business. So I was like, I'm going to pretend all those people are taken away and I want to see you build your own diamond back. But it's funny trying to coach him now because he'll be over there typing. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm sending a message. I'm like, to the same person? Just talk to him. He's like, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm like, well, that's how you get better. So he kind of hates me whenever I start making him do that. But it's just doing those uncomfortable things and being really productive with your time.
I just got to add, Jake is a great photo taker, like so good. He was like taking all the angles but was he always on board, Kelly?
He was. So that's another hard thing for my team because I have a lot of women on my team whose husbands are not supportive at all. And I know that is really, really hard for them. And I can't quite relate because Jake is actually the one who encouraged me to sign up. And he has always been fabulous with the kids and housework and everything that I know it would be very hard to do it to this level without him. But to that same statement, Melanie, I don't know if you guys have probably heard her talk before, but she always tells of how her husband, Matt, did not want her to do this business at all. He said it was a pyramid scheme. He was very, very against it. And so she took her money that she got for her birthday one year and she signed up without telling him. And she like vowed to make it work. And she made a goal board and he said it was stupid. And she was really bad with time management in the beginning. And he said, like, he gave her an ultimatum and was like, listen, like, you have to stop this business. Something has to change because you're working it all the time. Like, it's not working. And she was like, that's when she got so good at time management because she had to do that or he was going to make her quit. And then, as you know, she went on to become the top coach 4 years in a row because she had to get disciplined. And I think that's what a lot of us do, is we wait until we're faced with an ultimatum to get really intentional. And so last year I worked with crazy intention at the end of the year. And then this year I kind of felt like I had more time and I wanted to be elite by now. And here I am, because I did, I'm human. So I have the leadership points, but I need to hold 5-star yet. And I'm starting to sweat a little, guys. But yeah, Jake being on board is a huge help. But I think, like, do any of you guys struggle with that, with your husbands or spouse or significant other not being supportive? One thing that I've tried to kind of help my team with, because I have a couple of girls whose husbands just really aren't. And so one thing that a couple of them have started doing, and this was helpful for me, not because of Jake not being on board, but just because I could not focus at home. I think about the dishes. I think about everything else. So I would actually leave home like 45 minutes early in the morning and go into my job and either sit in the car or go into my office and work there for a little bit of time before I clocked in, or stay late at night to work, because it made me more aware of my time. At home, it's very easy. You're at home, you're in your comfy clothes, you can go grab a drink when you want, and so you kind of just work lackadaisical. But if you're at work and you're like, dang, I really want to get home to my family, you work with more intention. And so maybe for you that looks like going to a coffee shop for 30 minutes a day. And it's amazing, like 30 minutes of intentional work could be the exact same outflow as an hour and a half of sitting there not being productive. So just kind of start being mindful of that, and you'll notice a big change. Let's see, I'm reading some podcast. If you're unhappy in your current space, keep making excuses. It's time to change it. Yes, 100%. So I have changed my office in the house to a billion different rooms. I'm like thinking about changing it again. You want a space where you can feel creative and feel like you can work really well. So it's important. What other questions?
I was going to say, Audrey said on here, her fiance is skeptical, but then she just earned the Success Club trip. So I think that's another great way to get your spouse on board. Go earn a freaking trip and show them, because I'm sure that helped Jake be like, oh, maybe I should actually coach. I'm sure he wasn't saying that when you started.
Yeah. I mean, he was always supportive of me, but I don't think he would have ever thought that he would actually be the one doing it. Even when I started, he didn't even do the workouts with me. He tried to kind of learn about, clean eating, but he didn't do the workouts. So I was getting up by myself, and then he just saw the change in me, like you guys know. And so he started doing the workouts. Now he's doing all the cooking. He's a better cook than me now. And then I think seeing other men in the business that were making it work when we went on trips was kind of like, oh, it doesn't have to just be like the ladies, anyone can make this work. And so I think that for your family who you're trying to get on board, but also for your following, going to those live events is really important. And I didn't go to a Super Saturday event. I always went to Summit, but Super Saturdays and things like that, I never went to them until last year. And I think that was a big thing too, because I started showing more of the community and what it had to offer. And I think that that's really important for people to see, because a lot of people are excited about that. Let's see, your husband didn't believe, but you were consistent and he saw change and now got inspired. That's awesome. Yes, it's so exciting when people get on board, from your spouse to your parents. I know my parents have always been supportive of it too, but it was always oh, good job. We're really proud of you. But they had no clue. And they came to Summit this year and were like, what? It's insane at Summit. That celebration is crazy. So it just as much as you can share and show with people, I think the better for people. Some other things I did at the end of last year that kind of helped, because I know one thing we talked about too earlier this week that Melanie said was she had a speaker on, and she was like, the fourth quarter is notoriously hard. So we're going into a hard season. And the speaker was like, no, it's not. You're just telling yourself that. And we were all like, oh yeah, you know what? You're right. Why should the fourth quarter be any harder? we should just spin it a different way. And so last year, I remember I ran a couple of groups around Thanksgiving. We did a flash sale with our team a couple of times, like a Black Friday flash sale, to try to get as many points as we could and get the volume up. I don't do a ton of free groups regularly, but if you place them strategically, you can get people into those free groups. Like we did a Thanks and Planks group last year for just 3 days leading up to Thanksgiving, so they could have some free content, get some recipes before Thanksgiving. We kind of gave Thanksgiving the day off, used it as a day of gratitude, and said what we were thankful for about coaching and our challenge groups, and then advertised the flash sale on Friday and got people plugged in, gave them Friday and Saturday to make different purchases, showed different challenge packs, and said like anyone who purchases by, Sunday at noon is going to get a special offer. So I had a lot of my girls get Success Club points through that, which normally Thanksgiving, like people are kind of tuning out. They're focused on family, but if you do something that's giving them free value leading up to it, you're gaining their trust, and then you're telling them about a sale, you've already formed that connection. So it's a good way to kind of bring in more people at the end of the month. So that was helpful. And then honestly, like one of the biggest things I can remember driving home for Thanksgiving last year, it's a 4-hour drive to my parents' house, and I was like feverishly working in the car, like nonstop. And I remember sending messages, and I really just got honest with people. I think before it's like you want to try to convince them to join. Oh, it's so great. You're going to have so much fun, which is true. But people kind of do it on their own time then. And they're like, oh, I don't know. I got the holidays. I'm spending money on Christmas. Maybe check in with me after the New Year's. And I just started telling people like, hey, I'm working on a really freaking huge goal with my team. It's so important to me. And I know that you were curious in the past. And I know right now is really crazy, but this would be win-win. I'll, cut you, like I'll give you a holiday gift card for joining in for the first 10 people. And you're going to be helping me reach a really, really big goal. And I would be forever grateful. Like, would you be interested in getting started now instead of waiting? And it was amazing the amount of people who came back and told me like, I was going to wait, but if it's going to help you, like I've been following your journey. I would love to help you and your team. Like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, oh, okay. And it was amazing just saying like, I need your help. Like you're going to be getting something in return, but you're going to be really helping me too. And people were excited to help and be a part of that. So don't be afraid to be honest with the people you're asking to.
I love that, Kelly. I think a lot of leaders don't talk about that enough. Like I know our teams have done flash sales and such, but like people want to be a part of community, and that also means them wanting to be a part of helping you succeed because you're courageous enough to be a coach and share what you're doing. And so I think when you lead with your heart and you're really honest, I mean, you can tell she's so real, guys. Like she's super honest about the struggle she goes through in her life and what's happening behind the scenes. It's not this like pretty, perfect, portrait all the time. And when you're real consistently, that know, love, and trust gives you permission to send that kind of message behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. That's what I always say. So like when you keep it real up front and out in the open, then you have permission to say behind the scenes just as real.
Yeah. And I mean, that's so true. Like I think about like me when I was starting, like it's overwhelming and it's kind of like really intimidating when you see someone who you think is so perfect on social media, always doing the workouts, never missing, always showing the good nutrition, like always showing the perks of the business. And it's like, oh, well, she has her life together. Like I can't participate in that. Like I'm a hot mess over here. And so people don't join because they don't think that they can do it. But if you show like, oh my God, like I am a freaking mess over here. Like my kids are insane and I like haven't washed my hair in 3 days and I had a breakdown last night. Like people are like, hey, like she's still talking about having a successful business. She's still getting in some of her workouts, but she still loves to eat pizza and beer and all of these things. Like maybe I can do that too. And I think that was hard for me because I remember when I started coaching, my coach tried to get me to start and I was like, ooh, this weekend's not good. We're going tailgating. She was like, okay. I was like, well, I drink and I'm going to eat burgers. So I'll start on Monday maybe. And she was like, you can still do that. And I was like, oh, I can? I didn't know. Like, I feel like most people just show the highlight reel. So I think being open and honest about that is really, really helpful for people.
Yeah, and it's so easy to get into the like, here's my workout, here's my shake, here's my meal plan. And it's like, I think I saw Shalene said it this week, like if your Instagram is like not getting as much traction as you want, it's because you got to mix it up and show the stuff you probably don't want to show, because that's the stuff that's going to connect you to the people that you want to work with.
Try finding, like, if you have a success partner, or even if you don't, like, find someone on your team who you have the agreement, like, we're going to be honest with each other for the point of growing and helping each other, because we don't want to just sugarcoat it and not grow and do what we need to do. And we would have, like, do self audits of each other and go to, like, I would go to my success partner's business page and look at the posts, and she would look at mine, and I'd be like, oh, you're doing way too much fitness right now, or your posts are kind of boring. Like, you need to mix it up, like get some different, stuff on there. And so when you're doing your own, it's kind of hard to see sometimes, but when you're from the outside looking in, it's helpful. So we would just be like, hey, like, can you go check out my page and tell me what you think I'm missing? And that was a great way to just kind of share thoughts with other people.
Anyone else have any other questions for Kelly?
Yes, you're so welcome.
Well, we won't keep you. 5 stars totally possible, my friend. And I hope you guys see that, like, when you just are real and yourself and you let that shine, and I'm not like, I don't know, we get to this time of year and it's easy to think about all the things you haven't accomplished. I've definitely been guilty of that, where it's like, oh, and especially if you've been in the business for a while, or you're a brand new coach and you're like, where do I even begin? Because I wasn't on here, but recognizing Andrea, she's on here, team call. She's a new coach. But like, get to this time of year and be excited, because when you do show up at the hardest time of year during health and fitness, just imagine the momentum that you are building for the December 26er list, as Mackenzie said this week. Like, you can still hit massive goals and hit Success Club this month and make your dreams possible by what you do right after you get off this call, just being real. And that's the thing that struck me with Kelly. And we had so many pineapple pina coladas on that beach. But it was cool to see somebody who was in my same shoes, because my original coach basically bailed. And so we totally bonded over that. And it's just proof how powerful this community is, and why working for those trips right now, as you're sitting in your pajamas, is worth it. I'm telling you guys. So any closing thoughts, Kelly, or, tips, tricks for the end of the year?
Gosh, I would just say, like, sit down and really ask yourself, like, if you had no limit, like, if you weren't scared to admit that you might not reach it, like, what would you want to hit by the end of the year? And don't like tone it down just because you're like, oh, well, that's probably not possible. Like, it is possible. Crazy things happen. So write it down. Look at it every single day, and know that it's not over till it's over. Because I think so many people do that month to month. They're like, oh, well, it's the 26th and I'm at Success Club 2, so I'll just start fresh next month. And it's like, don't have that minimalist mindset, because if you say, well, I'll just save these people for next month because I'm not going to hit Success Club anyways, you're just missing out on that many more people. Sign them up. And commit and be like, just know that you're going to find more people the next month. And so it was the same way with our goal last year. It was like, we worked until the very, very end of the, like, literally like midnight on New Year's Eve. And you just don't give up. And at least you can go to bed knowing you gave it your all, and whatever you did is going to serve you more in the future going forward. So write your goals down when you get off here. Put it on a Post-it, put your big scary goal down, and then just get to work.
And share the scary goal with someone, because then they can hold you to it.
Yes, that is a huge part. So I think if you don't share it, then it's still not real in your head. And I remember snapping a picture of that and sending it to Melanie, and was like, oh my God, I'm going to go throw up now. Like, she probably thinks I'm so stupid. She was like, okay, well, it's going to be work, but let's do it. And I think that is important. Like, if you're real enough with each other to not sugarcoat it and know what you're going to have to do, but know if it's, worth it to you or not, then you just go for it and you make it work.
Well, thank you so much, girl, for sharing your heart with us tonight. We so appreciate it. And
You're welcome.
I can't wait to see you on our next trip.
Yay! Me too.
All right, guys, go finish October strong. I don't even know what date it is. 23rd. We have one more team call, I think. But make yourself proud this month, and it doesn't matter what happened the rest of the month. It matters how you finish it. So go make yourself proud.
Bye, guys.